I have my lid now, it's level and it's centered, but like in the casserole dish, it's only centered here and here. The other stuff that's not perfectly centered, I'm not going to worry about because I'm going to cut it off and throw it away anyway. Again, the only thing that holds this down is that layer of moisture. When I was throwing this, I left a lot of clay here because I knew I was going to cut it off into a nice smooth dome. Don't be afraid to trim your pots. You can listen, I don't know if you can hear the different thicknesses, but I've got enough there, and I left enough there to support a knob. If it's too thin or too wet, when you put the clay on to throw the knob, it will fall down. When I'm throwing on the wheel, I like to keep, if I throw a pot too big, I cut it off and I keep a pile of goo here. That pile of goo I like to store as wet sculpting goo. That's very technical talk when it comes to clay. It's often very difficult to wedge that stuff. But I found if you just roll it in your hands this way, the motion of that forces the air out and it's really gooey clay and it's wedged. Now this is going to be a knob that's pretty big, and a knob again is your own aesthetic. If you want, some people like big knobs and some people don't. I have the size, the piece I want to throw with. I always score clay when I'm going to join them if they have different moisture content. This is wet and this is leather hard. They're going to have different shrinkage rates. I'm going to score it, but I might as well score it in a way that I can use it. I'm going to score in little circles. So when I put on this little knob of clay, I can tell by looking at the circles if it's centered or not. And let's score this guy, add a little moisture, and center it. I'm going to very gently with my finger blend it in, and I'm going to throw this knob just like you would throw a little pot. I'm not going to try to incorporate that messy, I'm just going to make it tidy and get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of that messy bit on the side, and now I'm going to throw just a little piece of clay on there. The same principles as throwing a big piece, but obviously I can't get my whole hand on there. So I'm throwing with my fingers, centering, tidying. I'm going to open that like I would any other bowl and pull out a knob. When throwing a knob, either a big one or a little one, you want to look at it from both sides. Looking at it this way, it looks good, but quite often when you look at it from this side, there's not enough under the knob. This is going to be a casserole dish. You're going to have to put your mitt on and take the lid off. You want to make sure there's a nice underneath part, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to go making sure it's slidey. Bring that out. And make it tidy. Again, I like a knob to come up and say, I'm a knob. Make it tidy with my plastic. I've got a nice firm edge there and messy plastic. That was rude. There, I've got a nice tidy edge there. It will take the glaze nicer. I'm going to make a nicer join. And get down and look at it. Looks like a knob to me. Now leave this on the board. That's why I like to work on the board. The knob is wet. This is softened by the trimming. You're going to take this off and just leave it there. It will stick for a while. When it's time, when it wants to release, it will, and I'll show you that when it's ready. But don't push it, otherwise you're going to wreck it.